This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to our new Bauhaus event. As usual, we want to have this event on Monday afternoon. It's a nice way to start the week and to share ideas with you. I would like to congratulate Richard for the fantastic success of the Bauhaus event, because in the last 3 editions, and this is the number 4, we have been able really to develop a very a platform of exchange into the market. This is a very important development because the market needs more than ever an exchange of view on taxonomy and how to build an ecosystem for green mortgages. On Monday last week, we have seen the leaked version of the taxonomy paper, and we think really that it's time for the market to be ready with a new renovation wave and building new incentives for consumers, for lenders and investors to build a new ecosystem. That's exactly the spirit of the Bauhaus. Bring all the crazy ideas around Europe, bring them together, shake the community, and then bring new ideas to move the market forward and support what the European Commission is trying to do to bring a new market wave and support the transition of our society towards a new world, a sustainable world that can help our upcoming generation to have a better life, a better house. With this today, we are very proud to introduce you a few ideas that will help in building a new ecosystem. We wanted to establish a bridge with insurance companies. I think the insurance, they will make the difference for consumer, for lenders, for investors. So it will be very important for us to build the right connection with the insurance community and build a new business model with them. Then, I mean, more importantly, we would like to also to see how consumer can factor in their equation the energy efficiency savings that they can have in their pocket, and they can consider the amount of investment that they have to do it. So these 2 dimensions are extremely important to give a clear sense of the risk that they're taking on board, but also the fantastic opportunity they will have in reducing energy cost. Then I'm very proud to have here the largest UK lender. UK is one of the largest mortgage market in Europe, and we are very pleased to see a confirmation of the study done by the EDAP a few months ago, and to discover once again that there is a significant correlation, negative correlation between energy efficiency and risk. This is a nice confirmation, which is very timely now that Europe is about to agree on the taxonomy package. Having this additional confirmation, which is such a large scale in terms of portfolio, this is an important development. Last and not least, we are very pleased to present today the first green covered bonds coming from Italy, from the first green OBG. And this is a sign that we have to see this industry as a comprehensive element from retail till funding. We have to build a win-win system for consumer, for lenders, and for investors. And green bonds are an essential part of this story. I would like to thank you, and excuse me for taking a bit longer than the usual presentation, but Richard, I give you back the floor, and I thank you again for guiding us in this travel towards Europe. Thank you very much, Richard.
Afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Luca. Although, Luca, I am going to have to take issue with one thing that you said there. You talked about getting crazy ideas around Europe. Well, we're actually going outside Europe as well. We're going to start off today with a little bit of a Latin American flavor. More about that later. As Luca said, though, we have 4 presentations for you, as usual, 4 very different presentations for you, as usual. But some of them are the biggest and the best. We have one of the most promising instruments to mobilize private sector investment in energy efficiency. Those aren't my words, those are the words of the Global Innovation Lab for Climate Finance. Luca's already mentioned we're going to be speaking to Nationwide. We're looking at 2/3 of 1 million mortgages and looking with some nice solid empirical data about the relationship between energy efficiency, credit behavior, capital, maybe even the eventual cost of a loan. We've got Luca's already mentioned also the first ever transaction conducted for Italian cover bond law, 500 million euros raised exclusively to fund Italian green mortgages for the first time under the law there. And we've got subsidies of over 100% for green investments in homes in Italy, an offer too good to refuse. Maybe, but CRIF is going to talk us through how to make it as user-friendly as possible. But as promised, we're going to start today with a Latin American flavour. In the spirit of global cooperation, the Basel Agency for Sustainable Energy, BASE to its friends, is introducing insurance products developed largely in South America to build trust for end users in the savings that energy efficiency upgrades can bring them. The energy savings insurance, as they call it. Talk us through that, Livia Miethke Morais, specialist in sustainable energy finance at BASE, prepared a few slides. Livia, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you please talk us through the ESI model and how it can help?
Sure, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and to present the energy savings insurance model. Here I know it is not for mortgages or for households here, but it is a way of combining different elements and mobilizing investments in energy efficiency. And I hope I can get you a little bit inspired with the presentation today. So in here, just in the first slide, yeah, thank you. Yeah, a little bit about BASE. So we are a Swiss not-for-profit located in Basel, a specialized partner of UN Environment, and we develop innovative business models and financing mechanisms for mobilizing investment in sustainable energies and climate change solutions. And one of the models that BASE had an important part in developing was the energy savings insurance model that I'm about to present to you. In the next slide, I can give you a little bit of overview of where this model has been either in development or operational. Here it is already operational in 2 countries in Latin America, so in Mexico and in Colombia, and it is in the process of implementation in several other countries, or with in partnership with the Inter-American Development Bank, but also channeling funds from international developments such as the Green Climate Fund and other initiatives and institutions. And as Richard mentioned, the ESI model was recognized by the Global Innovation Lab for Climate Finance as one of the most innovative models to mobilize the private investment in energy efficiency. The model is also mentioned in the G20 Energy Efficiency Investment Toolkit and in the Financing the Low Carbon Economy manual from the Swiss Sustainable Finance Group. So why is a model such as this needed? Here we all know about the benefits of energy efficiency, and we have even a very strong business case for it with the numbers of investment. It is a higher upfront cost, but the payback is worth it. So it has a return in investment and other several benefits related to it. But here we are talking especially with small and medium-sized enterprises, and those organizations, many times you can show as many graphs as you want and all the numbers, and it will still be difficult to convince them of making the choice of the higher efficient equipment and the higher upfront cost. So there is this big barrier that we encounter, which is this trust that the future energy savings, they will be delivered and they will be worth for paying back the investment and contributing much more than just that. So here was the need to create this model. We are bringing this model to Europe via the ESI Europe project. So we received fundings from the European Commission to implement it in Italy, Portugal, and Spain. We are a consortium of 4 partners, so BASE coordinators and 1 partner in each of the countries. We started in 2018 So we have our output setting up the model here and mobilizing private investment and developing the ESI toolkit and further promote it in other European countries. So yeah, the next slide. We have created also this brand, Go Safe with ESI, that you are seeing here on my slides on the presentation, and that is part of one of the developments of the project. And our goal is to create trust in energy savings. So this is our goal here. Next slide. Briefly, here now I'll be talking about Go Safe with ESI, but you can also understand it as the ESI model under this brand here being implemented in Europe. It is composed by mainly those four main elements. So it's a standardized contract, which is this agreement between technology provider and client, where the technology provider guarantees the future energy savings. And in this contract, this guarantee is also covered by an insurance element. So this is to increase this trust, to help the provider to come across this challenge of the future energy savings lack of trust. And the savings and the energy efficiency, the project is also validated by a third-party independent validation entity that will also increase the trust and the technical aspects of the project. And all of that is linked to green financing. So it also facilitates the access by the final client to financing for this project. In the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit how the model works. So in this meeting of a technology provider and a client, where the technology provider wants to offer a higher efficient equipment or a system, they can propose with to offer it with this guarantee and this energy savings insurance on top of it. So with the Go Safe with ESI bundle, and they sign the contract, and for the contract to be activated, there are those two things that need to happen: the validation of the project by the validation entity and the insurance coverage. So after this has happened, the project can be implemented, and the installation of it is also verified by the validation entity, and also marks the start of the insurance coverage, because it's then that it's guaranteed that what has been promised in the contract is also what has been installed, and all the monitoring system is in place to record the savings. So in the fourth step, the next slide, there is the operational phase. So the client benefits from the energy savings and from all of the benefits of the energy efficiency project, and the provider also does the preventive maintenance and makes sure that everything is running perfectly, so everyone has the benefit from this energy efficiency project. Every year the provider will then prepare the savings monitoring report, and they will this report will be approved by the client. And this is how it's then constantly monitored also during the duration of the insurance coverage of the project. So there is this process in place. For the first year, the validation entity will also verify this monitoring report to make sure that everything is running smoothly. In the case there are disagreements between the two parties, so the client and the technology provider, they do not agree if the savings have been achieved or not, the validation entity can step in and act as an arbiter. And in the case there is a compensation needed for the client, the provider is the first respondent to it, and if the provider doesn't fulfill its commitment, then it's where the insurance can come in and cover the unachieved savings. So this is the process of the ESI in general. And now in the next slide, I can tell a little bit how we set up the model. So we start with the market assessment. We started that in Europe here in 2018 to identify potential market for energy efficiency investment and the stakeholders. So who are the financial institutions here in those 3 countries providing green loans or any type of product that is directed either to SMEs or to energy efficiency or sustainable energies. And we also identify technologies, so priority sectors and technologies, priority sectors to focus then our promotion and first actions to have the pipeline of projects, so first projects using the model, and the technologies to identify which are the technologies most interesting for energy savings, for the energy savings insurance project. Those technologies, so for the next slide, will feed in the validation process. So we engaged SGS here in Europe to be our the validation entity for the 3 countries and also beyond if it's the case that we are expanding. And so the validation process is based on the technology. So there is a general process, but then a handbook per technology. So that's why we started by identifying which were the technologies interesting. And here, as I explained already to you, the validation entity has this 3 to 4 important roles here, or moments in the process that they appear. So in the contract activation, the implementation phase, and in the first year of monitoring. And in the case it's needed an arbitration for triggering the insurance, they are also there to act as an arbiter. So in the next slide, I tell you a little bit about the contract. So this standardized contract, the idea is that it's really easy to read and to understand by all the parties. Here we are talking also about with SMEs, so it's really important that it's a simple piece that can be understood by all of the parties, and where it makes reference to the validation process and methodologies that are developed for Go Safe with ESI. And it is structured in this standard supply and installation contract. So yeah, and the maintenance is also included. So in the 3 countries, we counted with the support of law firms to have it drafted, and we also made round of consultations with technology providers, with the insurance companies, and for this contract to be known by the parties. So the next element in the slide, yeah, the energy savings insurance. So the insurance that we are talking here is the surety bond. So it's equivalent to a bank guarantee. So the savings that the technology provider is offering to the client, they represent also a portion of money, and this would be then the guarantee that is covered by the insurance. This type of insurance is a 3-party type of insurance. So the technology provider is the policy holder and the one who requests the insurance coverage, and the beneficiary is the client. So the client, who is the main the investor of this project, is also the beneficiary of the insurance, and it's based on the contract of Go Safe. Yeah. So the financing structure, as I was just mentioning, so different from, for example, an ESCO model of energy efficiency project. In this project, the technology provider is not expected to finance it, so it's really the client making the investment in the energy efficiency project, and for that this insurance element is very crucial, because it requires the client to be comfortable enough to go access some sort of external financing. So that's why it's so important to give this guarantee to the client and the insurance coverage, so it is comfortable enough to ask this loan financing from a financial institution. And financial institutions, on the other hand, they are also very interested in financing a project or a client that brings a project with an insurance coverage. So this also showed to be very interesting for financial institutions as well. So some other features from our ESI Europe project, as I mentioned, we created the brand Go Safe with ESI to communicate directly with final clients and with technology providers. And we are building the pipeline of projects using Go Safe with ESI. In the middle of the road, there was a bump. There's something happened, like a pandemic. So we shifted a little bit our strategy to a digital marketing strategy. So we are increasing our online presence as well in the 3 countries to bringing those projects. Many projects that we have started the conversation with, they went on a slower process, but we're still hopeful that we can get initial projects for the Go Safe with ESI model here in Europe. And the project is also running on a platform. So not the project, but we are developing the platform. So it supports the process of Go Safe with ESI and exchange of documents and information from all of the parties. And that's where also we'll be able to record and see how much are the energy savings, also to contribute with data for the DEEP platform from EFIC Group, to demonstrate that energy efficiency investments are worth it. So as case studies, I brought here 2 in the, from Latin America. So yeah, as I mentioned, the model is operational there with funds from the Inter-American Development Bank. So the banks in Latin America, they are part of the implementation of the program. So they have those green loans developed for mobilizing investments and using the ESI model. So here is a case of a replacement of a thermal system with solar water heating system. So it's an investment of around $3,000 US dollars. 30,000, sorry, and with a very interesting payback of 3 years. So this investment was then made possible with the Go Safe with the ESI model here, because the clients needed this trust, this guarantee from the provider that the savings would be achieved. So the ESI program in Colombia has already mobilized this almost 20 million US dollars in investment in several technologies. Actually, the second example that I have for you, it's also a solar heating system. So it's not that it's the only model applicable or only technology applicable. On the contrary, there were also other cases. And here, the program supported both the provider and the client in the process of getting this investment done. So if you want also more information, the Inter-American Development Bank made really good case studies, videos that we also share in our Go Safe platforms to show the examples. And I think I get to the end of my presentation here.
Great, thank you so much, Livia, for talking us through that. I should have said, by the way, please do feel free to ask any questions in the chat room. If you have any questions for Livia or any of our other presentations today, please pop them up there. We have actually already received one question, and I think if I'm interpreting this right, it's an interpretation point for Livia. Are you actually the insurance provider directly, or are you acting as a broker for insurance or guarantee provider?
Yeah, so we as BASE or even the Go Safe with ESI implementers, we are not taking part of the projects financially, let's say so. So we are not brokers. So the ESI model is really a market-based solution. So it is involved in engaging local market players. So there are insurance companies in each of the countries offering this product. So our role here is really to engage them and to show this interesting new business line. Here in Europe, we see a lot of surety bonds covering either exports or public-private relationships. So this shows to be an interesting new business line for the insurance companies, as it is a guarantee between two private actors.
Thank you for clarifying that, which kind of leads on to my question of this, which is, from my experience of insurance companies, they're quite conservative. If it's not inside their actuarial model of risks with a very, very long track record, they tend to be quite difficult. Presumably, sometimes you've got a lot of uncertainty about the benefits that can be delivered from a project. It might be 10, it might be 20, who knows? How do insurance companies get comfortable with insuring an unknown a difficult to predict quantity?
Yeah. So here, this type of insurance, since it is based on this guarantee that the provider is offering to the final client, it is an insurance that relies on the capacity of the provider to respond to this guarantee. So the type of the evaluation that the insurance company does is really on the technology provider, and for that, actually, it's not dependent if they are selling energy efficiency projects or whatever else their business is. So many times, what we also do is to see if the insurance companies, they have in their portfolio any type of client that is already their client, that they already know the risk profile of this provider, to then work with them to offer this type of insurance. And the surety bond is also not a new product. So the idea is not that they develop a completely new product for energy efficiency projects, but it is adapting an existing product that they have. So this should make them more comfortable in bringing in and participating in the project, in the implementation.
Essentially, they're taking a view on the technology provider, their credit, rather than the technology and its efficiency.
Exactly.
Okay. And then final question, if I can, before we wrap up. We've only got a very strict half-hour limit, or Luca will get angry with us. Final question, you're starting, I think you mentioned, in Spain, Italy and Portugal, and in certain sectors, is that right? Certain industrial sectors? And what's the plan from there?
Yeah. So the idea to have a market assessment and identify priority sectors is really to take advantage of relationship then with associations and maybe some incentives for specific sectors that are in place in the different countries. So here in Europe, we had actually identified the hotel sector in the 3 countries, and food processing industry in Portugal, in Italy, and in Spain, and the textile industry in Portugal, to start with this promotion, to go and participate in make partnerships with the associations and participating in events to really present the model to those final clients. And as we know, the hotel industry and the tourism sector was one of the most affected by this pandemic. So that's one of the reasons that we are now actually opening and yeah, well, the model is not restricted to those sectors, but we are really open for projects that come in all the different sectors. Since the model is also technology based, it's also easy to use it in all the different sectors. So that's why if you have yeah, all the possibilities here now.
Okay, so expanding into new industries, new countries. Good luck with that. Thank you very much for talking us through it today, Livia. I should say that Livia's presentation, as all the presentations you're going to see today, are available on the website. Please take a look at those and details if you want to speak directly to any of the presenters. We're now going to move on to our second presentation of the day from CRIF. CRIF are long-standing supporters of the energy initiative, as are the Italian government. The Italian government has rolled out, I think, the most generous package to encourage investments in energy, probably in the world. It's worth up to 110% of the total. 100 euros today, I get back a total benefit of 110 euros over time via my tax credits. But there are always conditions, there are always technical challenges to putting that up. And this is something that CRIF have been addressing. We've looked at front-end systems before, trying to make it as easy as possible for consumers to engage in this, but I think never without the tax element. So we'd like to look at how it's done in Italy. Francesco, Portioli, and Gianluca Natalini are going to talk us through this presentation. Francesco.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much for the introduction, and allow me to thank you also EMF-ECBC for the opportunity of presenting our latest tool, so the GreenBees, Building Energy Efficiency Simulator. So during this presentation, we are going to present you very, very briefly the journey leading us to achieve this result, so the development of this tool. Then we will give you a short presentation according to the steps needed to perform the simulation. Then we will provide you some examples and we can conclude with this presentation. So I think we can skip to the next slide, please. Very briefly, what is GreenBees? GreenBees is a tool supporting financial institutions and customer in order to support the so-called green transition of the Italian, so it is based on the Italian market at the moment, transition of the Italian real estate market, and more specifically regarding the residential property. So it is an instrument able to identify potential energy efficient refurbishment for Italian buildings. As you maybe are aware of, the Italian stock residential market relies on the 60s, so the majority of buildings were built in the 60s. So we need to put a huge effort, and this is something that is currently working at the moment in the Italian real estate market. We need a huge effort to be put in order to reach the target set in terms of CO2 and emissions reductions. Next slide, please. Okay, so we identify, just again briefly to introduce you the GreenBees journey, we identify 3 different pillars. So first of all, as you can see here, the Italian experience in terms of bonuses and more specifically tax bonuses, I would say, so tax deductions related to the energy efficiency and real estate market. We have a long experience as Italian market since 2006 with different rates like 50, 60, 70, 80, 85%, but also 90%. So the super bonus 110%, so the latest one, is not, I would say, the only one. So it's not standalone. We have a long experiences in this kind of measures and national measure, I would say. The second one is the participation of CRIF Real Estate. I am representing here in the EEMI initiative led by EMF-ECBC. So since 2017, I think we can go to the next slide. We participated in 3 different Horizon 2020 projects together with EMF-ECBC. So the EDAP, where we were in charge of the correlation analysis jointly with Ca' Foscari University, correlation analysis between credit risk and energy efficiency of the underlying assets of the contracts. Then we are still working, so it is an ongoing project, still working on the EEMI project, so basically market implementation and more focused on the green ecosystem, let's say. But then we also have been successful in another Horizon 2020 application, Transparency, more focused on ESG rating of small, medium enterprises. Very challenging project that will be start between the end of April and the beginning of May. I think we can go to the next slide, please. Very briefly here, we are stressing the importance of the super bonus 110%, as already introduced by Richard. This is also something very, very important for the simulator. We'll see this in a minute. In brief, what is the super bonus 110%? It's a tax deduction. So in Italy nowadays, it is expenses incurred between the 1st July 2020 and June 2022. There is a tax credit equal to 110% of the expenses for energy efficiency, but also, for example, for earthquake proofing measure, but also installation of photovoltaic systems or the installation of charging columns for electric vehicles. Two main aspects I would like to stress here is first the tax credit transfer. So it is possible, in case of successful eligibility of the credit, it is possible always to transfer this credit, and there is everyone can benefit from the tax credit transfer. So first, very, very important aspect. But also another key point, the invoice discount mechanism. So basically, it is possible to see, as a beneficiary, it is possible to see the invoice reducted to zero in case the suppliers of the works is willing to take the tax credit after the work are completed. So also, and more specifically, in case the whole amount of intervention are seen as eligible for the super bonus conditions set by the regulator. I think we can go to the next slide. So just to introduce you about the Green Bees simulator, very importantly, it is important to recognize the fact that it is not a standalone tool. As we said at the beginning, it is fundamental in order to support financial institutions and consumers' identification of energy efficient refurbishment. But it can be also seen adding some pieces at the end of this very complex, I would say, journey or process. It is also an entry door in order to create a green ecosystem. As you can see here, also not only financial institutions, but also utilities, enterprises, and more specifically those involved in the real estate market, but also actors like architects or stakeholders like public authorities can also have benefits in the development of a green ecosystem where as I said before, the Green Bees can be an entry door. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to introduce about what is the Green Bees, in order to perform the simulation and to use this tool, we need to provide some information as an input. So first of all, we need to identify the property. So it's the property geolocalization, as you can see here, but also we need a minimum set of information. I would like to stress the term minimum because this simulator is very user-friendly. So we are not asking to financial institutions or consumers to have a huge amount of information related to the building. So it is very user-friendly also for people who are not, I would say, aware of the full technicalities related to the real estate market. Then, as an output, the Green Bees simulator is able to provide you a list of possible green refurbishments. And then also it allows to produce something like a resume of the both input and output information. Next slide, please. Okay, we can go through the simulation steps. So first of all, first step, as you can see here, we are providing you the interface of the simulator. The first step, as you can imagine, is the identification of the geolocalization of the building. It is very straightforward, very simple. As you can see here, you have the Google Maps view, but also a search bar where you can provide the correct address in order to uniquely identify the building. This step is also fundamental because in Italy, for example, we have different climate zones with different characteristics, with different impacts on the building. As you can imagine, having a building or considering a building in Valle d'Aosta, which is located in the very north part of the Italy, is very different from condition of the south and, for example, from Sicily. So this is also very useful for our working algorithm to identify the correct condition in which the simulation has to be carried out. So next slide, please. We can move to the in the section related to the input information. In this case, we need to, as I said at the beginning, identify a minimum set of information and characteristics related to the building. So, for example, we need to identify the type of the building. It is a flat, it is a detached house, for example, but we will see this also in a minute in the examples of the output. We also have to select and identify the range in terms of year of constructions, the number of units, existing units, for example, in a building, in case of mini condominium, I would say. But also, as you can see here, it is also underlined the fact that in case of single houses, it is important to see and to provide the correct information regarding the roof, for example, the type of the roof. We can move to the next slide, please. So first step, after having identified where the building is located and then provide a minimum set of information regarding its characteristic, we need to also identify the energy system, existing energy system. So basically here we are considering how is the current existing system in the building in terms of heating, in terms of cooling, for example, but also in terms of electricity. And while we are providing this input in the simulator, as you can see in the right part of the screen, the algorithm is starting working and providing consumptions, so estimate of the consumptions, but also the APC class. In this case, for this kind of example, we are in F according to the input information we are used for in order to perform the simulation. I think we can go to the next slide. Okay, so after having completed basically the set of information needed in order for the simulator to perform and to calculate potential current consumption and current APC, it is asking us, as you can see in the first box, in the right, on the top, I'm sorry, if we need we need to identify a target. So we need to identify a target and we need to clarify to the simulator if we wanted to select basically an APC arrival label. So for example, here we are F, and we can select the C class, the B class, or the A class in case. But also it is possible to select an amount of investment that we are willing to spend in order to, you know, to refurbish our building. As you can see here, we have a list of energy efficient refurbishment. It is possible to tick and to select them, and also the green label you can see there is the one saying that for this specific intervention, this intervention is eligible under the conditions set by the Superbonus 110%. At the same time, as you can see on the right part, we have not only estimate of investment, and this is also automatically updated as soon as you tick one of the refurbishment set in the list, but also in terms of consumptions, arrival APC, and at the end, fiscal and tax deductions. Not only in this case for the Superbonus 110%, but also for the other existing Ecobonus in the Italian market. So it is not strictly related to the Superbonus, but we can also have access to other deductions according to our selections. Next slide, please. Okay, so at the end, after also having selected what we would like to get from basically from the refurbishment, the simulator automatically produce a PDF format. The customer can also register himself or herself in the system, and next time he will join the tool and the simulator, he will be able to see the simulation, the past simulation. But also it is possible, for example, for an employee of the financial institution who is currently simulating the energy efficiency status of the building together with the customer, he can, or he or she can send the final PDF to the email address of the client very, very straightforwardly and easily. I think that at this stage we can see some output. We started from CRIF real estate expert valuation, As you know, we are expert in buildings valuation. So first output we produced, it was a flat set and located in Cortina d'Ampezzo in the north part of Italy. It is a flat of the 60s, as you can see here. The starting APC, it was G class, but also you have the property value, which is very high. And according to the selection we made, we can achieve the APC D class and an estimated investment between 24 Ks and 31 Ks. Below you can see also the potential eco bonus deduction and super bonus deduction accordingly. I think we can move to the second output. This was a flat located in the suburbs, so in Milan in this case. 65s located in Lombardy, F APC class, lower property value, as you can see here. But again, the investment is not so far from the previous one. In this case, we are starting from F, and after having selected some refurbishment, we can reach B class. Next slide, please. This is something similar. We simulated a building, an apartment, in this case, located in Rome. This is in the city center, something that is also stressed by the property value, as you can see here, more higher than the previous one. In this case, the property was E APC label, and with a higher estimated investment, we can also reach the A APC A class in this case. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much. Moving forward from the flat, we can also consider detached house. Here, the building is located in Tuscany, 1973. The year of construction, F class, but in this case, we need an higher estimated investment in order to reach a C class, but also because we selected more interventions, energy efficient interventions. And finally, we can move to the last simulation. This is a terraced house located in Catania, so it is located in Sicily. In this case, the building it was built in 2013, so it's new. I would say new construction. So the estimated needed investment is also lower, but with very few energy efficient intervention, we can reach the APC A class. I think we can skip to the next slide. In conclusion, and the next one, please. Thank you very much. Just to stress 4 different aspects. So the Green Bees helps the clients, or support clients, because it is very, as you can see here, it's a very user-friendly platform. And again, I would like to stress the fact that it is requested a very minimum set of information in order to perform it. It exists at a very advanced algorithm, working, of course, in accordance with the existing Italian directive and regulation in terms of energy efficiency, so the one that was released in 2015. And also, I would like to stress the fact that this simulator has also a customizable front end. Okay, I think I concluded my my presentation. Thank you very much for the attention. I'm here in case of any question.
I wish I had a villa in Tuscany, Francesco, so that I could go onto your website and enter all the details and find out how much I could save via the super bonus. But if I did, I know that I would probably get the details wrong. And a question that we've had from the audience about that is, what happens if there is incorrect information? Someone enters the wrong details, the wrong measures are shown. How do you address that? How do you rectify?
Of course, yeah, of course, we are aware of the fact that all the people, they do not have the whole set of information. That's why the simulator has to be considered as a first step in the in order to decide whether to take the advantage of the existing super bonus 110%, or, for example, for the granting of a green mortgage. So we are fully aware of the fact that not all the people have the full set of information regarding their building, but this has to be seen as a first element in a much more longer process, for example. And as you have seen in the simulations, for example, in terms of year of construction, we have a range. The same holds for the investment. We have a range because we are estimating them. So this is a key element in order to provide the customer, in this case, the set of information in order to say, okay, we would like to make our building or my building more energy efficient or not.
Okay, and presumably then that applies also to all of the other variables, like whether, what type of roof insulation it has. Probably people don't know, they can't enter it. That comes further downstream. Is that right? The analysis of those kind of,
Yeah.
Okay. Just to understand the super bonus, it sounds extremely generous, obviously. So it's 110% tax credit. Now that means presumably that I can take this credit note and I get my annual tax bill and I can deduct it against that. Is that how it works, the tax credit?
Now, allow me to say, Richard, that currently the super bonus 110%, it is only for taxpayers in Italy. It works not only for the first house, but also on the second house. And it is a very, very complex process, not only from a fiscal perspective, but also from a technical perspective. So it is not 100% sure that after having decided to step into this kind of process, you will be certain, and you will show that you will see your tax deduction, your tax benefit, basically seen as eligible. So it's very complex. It is a very complex journey.
So does that deter people, or does that mean that somebody else steps in to take that uncertainty away and make it a certain amount?
No, I mean that for example, I can decide to check about the eligibility of my building. I can decide to start this kind of process, for example. So, but it is not sure that at the end I will be able to see my tax benefit, not only from a tax perspective, but more importantly from a technical one. So this is also related to the characteristic of the building, but also to the quality of the works that have been done on the building in order to reach this kind of measure. So.
And there's a minimum upgrade in the energy efficiency. You showed two or three notch upgrades there. Two classes, right?
Two APC jump in terms of APC. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if you've got any statistics on how often that actually occurs. Do some people fail?
To be honest, we are still at the beginning of this process, especially regarding the offer from financial institutions side, I would say. So I have no data, to be honest, to disclose at this stage regarding the success or not of the entire process, because I think that very few people at this stage have completed the whole journey in order to reach the super bonus 110% tax benefit.
Under the early days, and then
so
I think one final. I'm sorry.
No, we will see the benefit in the very next future, but not nowadays, I would say.
Okay. Maybe please come back to a future Bauhaus event and report back on that. One final question, I think, from my side. I think you also mentioned not just energy efficiency, but also upgrades for seismic safety. Is that also the case? And is there an analogy to the two notches of energy efficiency upgrade?
Sorry, Richard, I missed your question, to be honest. It was an interruption.
You mentioned also about making houses safer from an earthquake point of view.
Correct.
Does that also work on some kind of grade system, or how does that work?
This is also part of the super bonus 110%. Again, it is not only focused on energy efficiency, but also on the seismic safety of the building. So also intervention regarding the seismic part of the building are, or potentially are eligible under super bonus 110%. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Francesco, thank you so much for that. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Please come back to another event with when this is actually rolling out and working, and we can take a look at how it works in practice. That's be very interesting to follow. Tthank you, and we'll
thank you very much,
returning to Italy for our final presentation today from Crédit Agricole. Before that, though, coming more prosaically to the UK, to Nationwide Building Society, Britain's largest building society. Actually, as Francesco mentioned there, a few years ago, we started looking at the correlation between energy efficiency and default projects. Something that has been taken a lot further by various, and I think possibly the largest study of all being undertaken by Nationwide Building Society. So very pleased to be joined now by Zsolt, Jaczko, the head of retail IRB modelling, and Cesar Benedi Bozalongo, the senior risk analyst there. Now, for those of you who aren't bank capital nerds like me, IRB modelling refers to internal rating-based modelling risk, a more sophisticated way to price up the riskiness of assets than standard approach, very broad-brushed approach to capital allocation. Zsolt, I think you prepared some slides talking about your study. The floor is yours. Zsolt or Cesar, are you there?
Muted.
You're mute.
I think you are mute, Zsolt, I think.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you, perfect.
Okay, apologize for that one.
We'll
I had some problem with this technology now, but now I'm okay. So yeah, so we will share this presentation together with Cesar now. Can I ask somebody to move the slides? Yes, so just very quickly, because I think in Europe, Nationwide is not so known about the activities that we are doing. So Nationwide is not really a bank, but yeah, a kind of bank. It's a building society. It's a mutual owned by the customer. So everybody who is basically having anything in connection with us is basically the owner of this company. So we have like 18,000 owner. Yeah, I'm not saying shareholders, but yeah, owner. And we are primarily a mortgage lender. So we are a second mortgage lender in the UK. And we have lots of information about mortgages. So if you go to the next slide, please. I will talk about like 5 topics today. The first one is where we got into this topic of energy efficiency and default rate. And then we had lots of conversation around what to do in terms of the analytics, how to improve the information what we have, and then creating some more and more comparison with some benchmarking model, and yeah, some conclusion. Yeah, I have to emphasize that actually we did lots of work so far. That doesn't mean that we are end of the road. Yeah, so we are going to improve our analytics and our analytics going forward. And nobody knows how long it's going to take. But we have something already that I believe it's very important or very, very nice to share with you guys. And yeah, I think Cesar is pretty excited about sharing the information with you. Can I get to the next slide, please? So we were brought into this whole process by the FE group, by Peter, for example. They believe that because the financial institutions have quite a good of analytics in place, why not invite those financial institutions who have analytics in place to basically help very quickly with the analysis of the energy efficiency importance. And yeah, if you go to the next slide, please. The question was from the financial institutions, can you prove that there is any correlation between the energy efficiency and the default rates? And there were lots of debates on the question: is it really a relationship or it's not? Everybody had some kind of preconception about this topic. Even my company had that one, but even nationwide, we decided that actually we want to have benefit to the customers if they want to have something which is better rating in terms of the energy efficiency. So we wanted to prove that actually it's worthwhile. Can you go to the next one? So altogether we went on that road. We started to analyze the credit case of the customers in terms of the energy efficiency. There are lots of different parameters in the capital modeling that we wanted to analyze. And then even the first one, the probability of default, which is saying how likely that somebody is going to default, we wanted to show whether there is any relationship, whether we have something in relationship with the probability of default and then the energy efficiency. And then the whole presentation that you will see today is about this one, because we spent like almost a year or so on this topic, analyzing loads of different type of data from internal and external one, just to show, yes, there is a relationship or there is no relationship. Yeah, originally that was a study from Bank of England a year or so ago, or maybe 2 years ago, and they showed that there is a relationship, and we started from that study to show our findings. Yeah, can you go to the next one, please? So what we did basically is that in the UK, it was very hard to find energy efficiency related data publicly available, but there was from the Ministry of Housing something which is publicly available. So my colleague, Cesar, was able to download like almost 20 million record of data, and with different algorithms, he was managed to match our internal data to our internal data, basically the EPC ratings to the mortgages that we have. And then we started to analyze, is there any relationship between EPC ratings and default risk? And the first result was not so promising. So we had contradictional results, not necessarily stable results. So we went to the FI group. They were very helpful because they were able to provide methodological advice how to go forward on the analysis. And then after using the information from them, we were able to go to the next level, which were showing that actually, yes, there might be some influence or some result or some effect between energy efficiency and default risk. And they were giving advice on the next slide to decide basically whether we are really want to use just some kind of light financially informations, or something which is showing, yes, there is somebody who is really in financial difficulty. Which one do you really want to model? Somebody who is just missing one payment or two payments, or really who is really in financial difficulty? So we go for the next one, which is saying, yes, we want to have somebody modeled who is really in financial difficulty. So that was the first one that we wanted to decide. The second one, there are lots of different type of mortgages, especially in the UK. I don't know about continental Europe, but in the UK, where the government is subsidizing lots of different stuff. And when they are subsidizing lots of different stuff, of course, they are deteriorating the market. So we said, okay, let's exclude those mortgages from the analysis. Does it help? And then you will see the result. What does it mean in terms of the analysis? And then we get also lots of results, or lots of interesting information about what does it mean using the origination of the year, or cost of the different property type, property size, or even just the value of the property, or even profiling in the UK in terms of customers. We also tested what does it mean if we are include the energy efficiency into the IRB rating system. That was a very big one. I think, I don't know how many people on the call is familiar with the efficiency of the rating systems, IRB rating systems, but that they are probably very well developed. So having any additional value to those rating systems, yeah, it's very hard. So to find anything which is good enough to include the IRB rating system, it's hard. So you will see that we find something which is good enough. And then we wanted to compare it with something which is not usual, just because we wanted to test whether we have a robust system in place. And most of these are already done. We have a couple of things which still in the pipeline, but most of these are already done. We want to have also additional methodology tested for the research that we have, but we are not there yet. Yeah, but yeah, it's ongoing. Yeah, Cesar, can you jump in?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you, Zsolt. Hi, everyone. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Yes. So in this slide, we have the impact of removing the government schemes mortgages that we had in our book, and most of them, they were located in ratings B and C, and the default rate of these customers were higher than the rest, because most of them, they were put into any type of concession before they trigger any other more serious default type. So after removing the government schemes, you can see on the top right chart that it seems to be a negative relationship, And the blue dots there represents the default rate, so the proportion of defaults that you can find for each of the rating grades. However, this negative relationship might be explained by additional factors, so things like characteristics of the property, the mortgage, or different default rates depending on the region, for example. So what we did was a regression analysis where we tried to include all these, we try to control for all these factors. So if you move to the next slide, please. We can see here the results of the analysis that we did. So on model number 1, for example, we cluster all the properties in 3 groups depending on the energy rating. So A, B, and C are clustered into high energy efficient properties. Medium would be D, and low would be another group. And we can see that there is it seems to be a negative relationship between EPC and default. So high energy efficient properties seems to be less likely to default than medium and low energy efficient properties. And this relationship seems to be high significant at 99% confident interval. So these analyses have been done in a sample, which is, you can see on the bottom, which is 657,000 properties. So that means they are quite robust analysis. However, this negative relationship might be affected by other factors. So one might think that customers that have high energy efficient properties are less likely to default because maybe they are more wealthy customers, for example, so it's affected by the income. However, in our sample, we didn't see any differences in the distribution of EPC by different levels of income. So, for example, the proportion of wealthy people that have high energy efficient properties is very similar to the proportion of low and middle income customers that have high energy efficient properties. And we can see that in model 2, for example, where we include the household income, it doesn't have any effect on the relationship between EPC and default. So the coefficients are still negative and they are still highly significant. And the same happens when we start including additional controls. So for example, the loan term of the loan, the loan term of the mortgage, the original LTV, the valuation amount of the property per square meter, the property type, if it's a house or not, then the age of the borrower, and then we include an additional variable, which is a recession there, because we saw that customers that have a mortgage origination date before 2009 had higher default rates. So the sample that we looked was September 2019, and what we see is what is the likeliness of those properties to default in the following 12 months. So we control for this factor for the origination year in this time, because maybe customers that had a mortgage before the financial crisis, they went through a crisis and they are more vulnerable to future economic conditions. So after including all those control variables, the information that you can see on the green box, we still can see that there is still a negative relationship, and this relationship is still highly significant. And so, of course, there might be another characteristics of the customer, the borrower, or the mortgage that we might be missing. So as Zsolt mentioned, this is an ongoing analysis. But the analysis that we are showing here are quite robust according to the sample. And we try to do additional testing. For example, instead of clustering properties into high, medium, and low, we include the EPC rating, which is the continuous version of the EPC. And the results you can see on the following slide. Yes. So on the green box, we include in the model the EPC rating, which is a variable that goes from 0 to 100. And if this value, for example, is between 91 and 100, then the property is rated as A. So this model is telling us that the lower the energy efficiency of the property, the higher the risk to fall into default in the following 12 months. We also try to regress, instead of the full IRB default definition, we regress arrears, which is if the customer is missing 3 or more payments in that period, in order to be able to compare with the Bank of England study, because they also regress arrears, a light version of these arrears. And you can see that, and we also got the same results or similar results, as them. So another further analysis that we did was, as Zsolt mentioned before, to include this EPC rating, the continuous version, on top of the IRB behavioral scorecard. And as you can see in the following slide, the IRB behavioral scorecard is a model that tries to predict what is the probability of the customer to fall into arrears in the following 12 months. And this model is really sophisticated model, and it uses information of, well, past information of past payment behavior information of the customer. And the discriminatory power of these models are quite large. As you can see, the Gini is around 70%. So having the EPC rating on top of this scorecard, which is giving us a bit more information and is not impacting the discriminatory power of the scorecard or the accuracy of the scorecard, is quite a big information. And as you can see, the model I'm talking about is the model number 3, where we include the rating. And if we were going to use this model in order to calculate capital, because the IRB behavioral scorecards are used to calculate the capital of the bank, then we will be able to allocate capital according to the energy efficiency of the property. So, for example, if low energy efficient properties are more likely to default, as we saw in the previous model, and we see in this model because the coefficient of the energy efficient rating is negative, then this model will allocate higher capital to those properties, and the other way around. So high energy efficient properties, as they are less likely to default, this model will allocate lower capital. And this is what happens when we apply this model. So you can see in the following slide, A-rated properties get a reduction of capital of around 12%, and the overall capital reduction or increase, it will depend on the distribution of the book of the bank. So if a bank has more high properties, lower, there will be an impact. So sorry, there will be an incentive for financial institutions to move into allocating mortgage into high energy efficient properties, because they will be able to get a lower capital, well, a lower allocation of capital. So this is everything. You can move to the conclusion slide in the next. Yes. So basically what we saw in our analysis is there seems to be a negative relationship between EPC and default risk. This negative relationship is quite significant, even after controlling for characteristics that might affect this relationship. We have done this analysis on a very large sample, and then we have also included the EPC into the scorecard, which allow us to allocate capital on a more efficient way. And of course, as Zsolt mentioned, this is a ongoing analysis. So there are more analysis that we are still trying to do, and there are more improvements that we need to do. And finally, you move 2 more slides. Yeah, next one. Yes, so we try, for example, alternative clustering by using internal reports, trying to group properties into different ways, and we got the same robust and results. Then there is no problems of correlation between the control variables or multicollinearity issues, and the outliers, we have treated them as we treat the outliers in the scorecard development. and we are still trying to do further analysis. So for example, one of the analyses that we are trying to do is to see if there are any heterogeneities in the EPC default relationship for different levels of household income. So this is an ongoing analysis, and I hope we will be able to share more details or more results in the future.
Thank you very much for that. Sorry, got a bit of background noise going on. Thank you both very much for that. Can I just make sure that I fully understood it though? Because for a very long time now, people have been saying that there's evidence of a correlation between default and energy efficiency, but not many people have been very good at breaking it down in the way you have and looking at the possible variables. And I'll be honest, my immediate intuitive reaction to that is, well, it's correlated to wealth. You know, wealthy people are less likely to default. Wealthy people are more likely to spend money on an energy upgrade. Do I understand your results correctly that that's not the case? And if you control for household wealth, that isn't a determinant?
Yes. Household income doesn't seem to be determined. So there is like a negative relationship between default and household income. So of course, wealthy customers are less likely to default, but there are no differences into the proportion of wealthy customers that have high or medium or low energy efficient properties. So there is not a high proportion of wealthy people that have high energy efficient properties compared with low or medium. So in this case, household income will not be explaining the difference in default rate for the different EPC clusters.
Okay, that's something that I've suspected for a long time and I've now found out is wrong.
In our sample.
Well, it's 2/3 of a million mortgages. It's a pretty good sample size. So in that case, what can you do to try and find the causation? Is there anything that you can do based on your research to try to actually find out what the causal link is? Or are we still guessing?
So we still continue the analysis, and in the UK you have something which is called Mosaic, which is a profiling something from Experian, external provider. So we are trying to further analyze the causality of this relationship, which is, yeah, we still don't know the reason. But yeah, income, everybody is about income, wants to find out whether, you know, the wealthy people is about to buy higher energy efficient properties just because they can afford it, and that's the reason or not. So we want to further analyze that relationship. We need more data, but at least we have the data, you know. We are trying to find out whether we can get also, like, you know, we had 670,000 accounts just for the EPC ratings, whether we can have for these accounts similar amount of data just for the income or for the Mosaic. That will help.
And sorry, just to understand Mosaic, what that's non-economic variables that are being mapped, or no, what information is held on about people?
No, Mosaic is basically just customer profiling. You know, where you live, what is your income, what is your, I don't know, generic profile of living. That's all. Nothing really economic.
Right. That's fascinating area to explore. We've had a couple of questions from the audience. One is a very practical one about how you've done your study, and how you actually record the energy performance certificates. Am I right in thinking that's actually not in your data and you've had to go out and look for that? Did I understand that correctly? Or do you actually now record EPC in the individual customer files?
I didn't get all of your.
I was asking simply how you got the EPC element for your analysis. Is that something you record against customers, or do you have to go out and look for that?
Yeah, there is a database from the government of from the Ministry of Housing and Local Communities, and they have a database with 20 million properties, and they have information about the EPC. So what we have done is get the address from our database and get the address from their database and do an algorithm to try to match the information. So we got a matching rate of around 60% of the property in our book.
Okay, so it's external data. You don't have to record that yet.
Yes, for the past, but from last month, technically, we are basically collecting the EPC information also as part of the mortgage journey. So we are registering it.
Okay. Another question for the audience, let me read it out, is talking about three primary parameters: the default risk, the asset value, and the behavior. Are there any findings emerging on the relationship between the energy efficiency and the asset value?
So we propose this analysis to the EFIG methodology hub. We don't have enough data to, that's the other parameter of the IRB model. So it's not PD, but it's the loss given default, so the LGD part of the IRB risk parameter. You need to have much more information for that one. There would be a possibility in the UK using one of the information provider, HomeTrack, to collect those informations and analyze basically the same relationship. We don't have that. Yeah, so if they can do it, that's fine. That would be very helpful. For us, we don't have enough information.
Right. We've actually had another question, which is essentially the same as that, talking about the impact on recovery rates. So I guess that's the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And final question: you're talking here about energy performance certificates as a static, and absolutely, you start off with it. It is this. Can you derive anything here from this on movements between energy rates? So if I borrow £10,000 to move from D to B, whether that impacts my default probability, or is it just about static, the level that I start off with?
That's a very interesting question, although it was not part of the presentation. But if we move away from pure mortgages, then personal loans, we have an identifier, basically how you are using your personal loans. And we analyzed the information where you are using your personal loans for home improvements. And those who are using personal loans for home improvements, the default risk is actually like half than the normal personal loan default rate risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was not part of today's presentation, but that was the very first analysis that we did.
Right. And that immediately feels like another area for you to start to look into and to develop in future work.
Yeah. So that was the starting point of the whole EFIG analysis. So yeah, that was nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for presenting those findings. This is one of the key things, I guess, to so much of what we're doing when we lobby for different risk weights for energy efficient mortgages, which is so important in customers. So fantastic work. Thank you so much for presenting that today. We're now going to move on to, I guess, the other downstream aspect of mortgage funding energy efficient mortgages, and that is, the nationwide, speaking about the capital. We're now going to talk about the funding costs, and to do that, we're going to move back to Italy and Crédit Agricole Italia's green covered bond, the covered bond out, which I believe is the first ever covered bond based entirely on green assets. It's been undertaken by Crédit Agricole. Not a straightforward process. And I'd like to ask now Cristian Segnani and Eduardo Bellardi to talk us through the process of this bond. Cristian.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much to all for the opportunity to talk about our first green covered bond issue. If you can see in slide 2, if you go to slide 2, Crédit Agricole Group has a long history in Italy. As you can see in this chart, in 2007, Crédit Agricole acquired the Cariparma, now Crédit Agricole Italia, which gave rise to the Crédit Agricole Italia banking group that include Crédit Agricole Italia, Crédit Agricole Friulia, and Crédit Agricole Leasing Italia. Crédit Agricole Group is also present in Italy with all the business line, from customer credit to corporate and investment banking. If you can go to slide 3. Considering all the business lines, we could say that Crédit Agricole in Italy is one of the main players on the Italian market. Moreover, Italy represents for Crédit Agricole the second market of the group after French. Slide 4. The Crédit Agricole Italia banking group is present in 11 Italian regions with more than 2 million customers. Despite the obvious difficulties of 2020 due to the pandemic situation, the trend in home loan fully reflects the return to pre-crisis levels. The stock increased by 5.5% compared to 2019, with the number of new loans increasing by 9% versus the last quarter of 2019, and with a record high production in December 2020. Slide 5. Switching to our covered bond program, we started the program in 2013. Initially as a retained program, whereas in 2014 we made our first market issue. Last 15 March, we issued the inaugural green covered bond. Currently, the issuances under the program total 10.5 billion. Sorry. Slide 6. Here you can find the representation of a structure of our program. The Italian covered bond program required the presence of originator banks and residential mortgages, namely Crédit Agricole Italia and Crédit Agricole Friulia, who transferred the asset to SPV, Crédit Agricole Italia OBG, under the program of a transfer price paid then to subordinated loans granted by the originator banks. The bank issue a covered bond, and sorry, slide 6. Okay. The bank issues a covered bond, and the SPV places the transferred asset as collateral for the issues, providing a double guarantee to bondholder. The securities are rated by Moody's, and the program is subject to periodic checks by the Asset Monitor BDO, who verify the compliance with the relevant regulation, the accuracy of the test carries out, the pool audit. Slide 7. Regarding our market issuances, as you can see, the curve is very populated. Indeed, we engaged the commitment to maintain a constant presence in the market. As you can see in the two charts on the right, the spreads leveled off a lot over the last year due to market condition. We are currently one of the most active Italian issuers on the covered bond market in Italy. Slide 8. In terms of ESG initiative, Crédit Agricole Group is among the market leaders in the ESG sector. This sustainable attention led to initiative also in the Italian market. Next slide. In this area, also Crédit Agricole Italian Banking Group is involved with various initiatives such as about sustainable construction, building of Italian headquarters called Green Life, one of the 3 most sustainable buildings in Italy, about commercial green mortgage designed for families to allow to buy a house with incentiveness, in terms of spread reduction for the purchase of high energy efficient building, and also about sustainable mobility, collaboration with leasings to promote sustainable mobility as part of the broader Green Way. Crédit Agricole Italia also won Mobility Innovation 2020 awards, and for the second year in a row was awarded by Up2Go as the best CO2 saving company. Next slide. So we therefore expanded the offer with our inaugural green covered bond that is part of the green bond framework of Crédit Agricole, which identify eligible projects such as green building, and it is valid for all entities of the group. The framework required the publication of periodic reports on asset allocation and impacts in terms of CO2 saving at a consolidated level. Moreover, it is expected a 30% buffer between the green portfolio and the green bond outstanding. Next slide. To integrate the green bond framework of Casa Group with specific characteristic of real estate Italian market, we wrote down an annex. With the support of CRIF, we developed two approaches to understand if loans were eligible to finance a new or existing residential building aligned with current environment regulation and belonging to the top 15% of the most carbon efficient buildings in Italy. So our criteria are two, and the first criterion identify home loan financing the acquisition of Italian residential properties with A, B, and C EPC in force, and the second criterion, home loan financing the acquisition of Italian newly residential buildings built after 1st January 2016, after the application of prudent time 2.5% haircut over the portfolio identified under this criterion. The proceeds will be used to finance a new mortgage loan to purchase of buildings belonging to the top 50% of the most carbon efficient buildings. Next slide. The pool of green mortgage loans was subject to CRIF analysis, and after we also obtained the opinion from VDGEO, attesting the Crédit Agricole Italia's green covered bond are aligned with the four core components of the Green Bond Principle 2018. Next slide. The portfolio eligible amounted to 835 million, concentrated in Northern Italia, of which 66% under Criterion 1 and 34% under Criterion 2. This amount allows us to cover the 30% buffer provided by Green Bond Framework of Crédit Agricole Group. The properties with APC in A class, as you can see here, are about 50% of the pool selected under Criterion 1. Next slide. From the announcement of the operation, we received many appreciation from investors demonstrated during the roadshow too. The launch of the market with the pricing process was on Monday, 8th March, when we finally realized the first issuance of an Italian green covered bond, obtaining also the record of the first Italian issue in single digit over the mid swap, with a final interest rate of 0.125% and 12-year maturities. Moody's confirmed the rating AA3. As you can notice from the chart on the bond allocation, we recorded requests from a variety of investors with the good participation of ESG investors, about 40% of the investor. Of course, the green covered bond offered us the possibilities of investor diversification, making ESG investor the possibility to invest in an ESG instrument of Crédit Agricole Italia. So we finally reap the rewards of a work started 4 years ago. In the realization, we had the strong support of CACIB, a market leader in structuring and placement of ESG instruments. So Richard, I have.
Okay, sorry, I Wasn't sure you'd finished, sorry. Thank you so much for running us through that, Cristian. You just mentioned there 4 years. You spent 4 years with this in process. Why did it take so long? What were the difficult parts about the process?
So about this, we are very proud of this result because as we began working on this project from 2017 by the creation of a database containing data on energy certification. The information was directly collected from the energy certification that are part of the document required to obtain the loans. Before December 2019, the data collection was outsourced to an external company, whereas of December 2019, the data are uploaded directly into procedure by the internal bank's loan origination department. Proud to the fact that the data are all in-house and there was not the need for estimating or researching the information, but just implementing our system to accommodate the data and be able to query it.
Right.
About the difficult with other department, the most difficult part was convincing the back office loans about the importance of having this database for this kind of data, and also convinced the organization of our bank to provide the necessary number of employees to ensure the collection of data.
There's quite a big resource commitment to get to this result then, I guess, from your perspective.
Sorry, I don't have understood very well.
Well, no, I was simply saying that it's quite a lot of resources have to go into structuring it in terms of the data gathering and the process and engaging with BDO and Moody's and Vigio, I think you mentioned. There's quite a lot of time to structure all of this.
Yeah, we have engaged the back office loans department that they go to insert the data in our procedure, and this work is very important for us, and because for all loan that we produce, it's necessary a person that to go to bring the document and insert the data in the procedure.
Can I just ask about the commercial offer that you give? I mean, you could talk about the funding of the assets, but at the other end, what is the commercial proposition for the borrowers if they want to borrow for high energy efficiency renovation, for example?
On this topic, I leave the discussion to Marcella Falanga that is here with us, that work on marketing.
Excellent.
Thank you, Cristian. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for your question. Indeed, in Crédit Agricole, we have been offering a green proposal for our mortgages for several years. We started in 2015 by planting a tree for each mortgage disbursed. And we carried out many reforestation projects in areas of Italy at risk of hydrogeological instability or devastated by extraordinary weather events. And today, our little forest has 20,000 trees across the country. Then in 2018, we encouraged the sustainable mobility by giving an e-bike to all customers who chose our mortgages. And in the last 4 years, we've been offering a spread reduction to people who buy a building in energy class A or B or renovate it by improving its energy performance, which means an improvement of 2 energy classes or an improvement in energy performance of at least 40%. So the offer is substantially consistent with the definition of green mortgage given by EMF. That's an initiative that we have supported since the beginning as a pilot bank. And last month, we also joined the EN label, just to confirm our strong interest towards these issues. And for the future, we plan to increase our commitment to the energetic transition more and more, because we firmly believe in it. And that's all.
Okay. It's obviously a fantastically successful bond, and you know, normally when a great bond is issued, the Treasury and the people get very excited, and nobody else. But presumably, you're selling this to retail. You're saying this is something innovative that Crédit Agricole Italia is doing, and people noticing that in the press. A marketing point as well.
Sorry, I understood. Do you mean the interest, the interest towards the initiative of Green Bond?
Exactly. Yeah. From.
Ah, okay. Okay. So. Yeah, we have started at the beginning of March. So I don't have the results, but probably Cristian has them, the results of our Green Bond.
So the interest about Green Bond.
Sorry, I only meant in terms of reaching out to new people and the publicity. And I actually have a related question, if I can, for Cristian, which is, you mentioned the investors. You broke it down by type of investor and by country of investor. Are those people new investors to Crédit Agricole covered bonds, or are you getting to new green bond funds, or are we simply taking mainstream investors?
So we have seen the various type of investor, but the 40% of these are ESG investor. That for us is very important to see the new type of investor in our programming. So this.
And how many of those investors that you sold to do you think were new ones, or is it impossible to say that?
It's possible to say that in this moment.
Okay. Well, it's obviously a fantastically successful process. Are there going to be any follow-up ones, or do you have to wait for more mortgages to be originated?
At the moment, we can say if we are ready to create a new operation in the next year. It depends about the production of loans with that respond to the criterion that we have identified.
Okay. So, well, let's hope so. So it's obviously a very successful process, and thank you very much for sharing it with us today. And thank you to all of the presenters today for extremely different presentations for different parts of the value chain. Again, as ever, thank you very much for listening. If you have any thoughts, any questions, please check the presentations. Please feel free to contact the presenters directly, or any feedback. Please get back to Luca or myself or anyone at the ECBC, European Mortgage Federation, with any thoughts, any observations, anything you'd like to hear more about. On that, I will say goodbye, and I'll hand you back to Luca for any closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Richard, but thank you very much to all the presenters for the fantastic presentation. I think it was an amazing, I would say, menu today to see what is happening around Europe. We would like to invite you all to join our next event on the 26th of April. The agenda is already packed, and we have also the agenda in May already ready. I mean, it will be on the 24th of May as well. So every month we will be here to share ideas with you and with Richard, and we hope really that this will trigger your initiative to do something on the green side of your business. With this, I would like to conclude this event. I would like to recall you that all our presentation and all the video will be posted on our website. So if you want to share information with your colleagues or see again the video, I mean, you can rewatch it starting from tomorrow. Probably tomorrow we will be posting everything online. And with this, we thank you all for the kind attention. and we wish you a nice week and see you all here in 1 month time. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.